Spike Lee since then?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I didn't. I was told not to go over to him because I said I was going to knock him and I don't.
Have you encountered Spike Lee since that incident? Yes, and I chose not to approach him. People advised me against it because I had mentioned wanting to confront him physically, and I stand firm on my criticism of his business approaches. I'm choosing not to elaborate further on Spike Lee. I've already expressed my views, and I remain committed to them. However, if you investigate and speak with certain actors about the types of dealings he engaged in, you'll form your own opinion. There are producer behaviors that I'll never endorse, and I face significant backlash for speaking out. It's not that I have personal animosity towards Spike Lee. It's specific practices in his operations that I find objectionable. Now, shifting to Oprah Winfrey. You know exactly what needs to be addressed, so stop dodging behind claims of negativity. What you dismiss as unworthy of your attention is revealing your true character to others. What is that connection to the Black community really about? It's tied to Black individuals. No, I wasn't blackballed in the traditional sense. I was effectively sidelined by some in the Black community who lacked the courage to stand up. Thank you to figures like Lee Daniels and those in positions of influence. Thank you, Oprah Winfrey. Let's get honest for a moment. In discussions of major maneuvers in the entertainment industry, Oprah's involvement often surfaces. She's the enormously wealthy media tycoon, dubbed the monarch of daytime television, and her public persona has been meticulously refined over decades, appearing impeccable, motivational, and beyond reproach. Yet beneath the radiant grins and artfully composed addresses, a contrasting narrative exists, one that clashes with the shiny publications and uplifting dialogues. Currently, this concealed aspect is being unveiled more than ever. For a long time, Monique has been vocal, asserting that she wasn't merely labeled as challenging or uncooperative, as the sector attempted to portray her. In her view, she was deliberately excluded and penalized. She claims she was blackballed. Now Clifton Powell has joined the dialogue, supporting her assertions and amplifying what were once subtle murmurs into bold declarations. Suddenly, Monique has allies in her corner. It's reasonable to suggest that if Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey stepped down from their lofty positions and interacted on a human level, true resolution could occur. I'm unsure if it's a closed chapter, but reconciliation requires effort. However, forgiveness can't be granted without a request for it. That's a sentiment echoed by Oprah herself. How can forgiveness happen if no one has sought it? Others are now corroborating that Monique's experiences weren't mere accidents, they were intentional. Let's not pretend she faded away due to a decline in skills. This is an Oscar recipient, a dynamic comedian and performer who dominated stages in a way few can match. She had demonstrated her abilities, claimed her accolades, and her trajectory should have ascended further. So, what caused the industry to close ranks on her during her prime? Per Monique, and now reinforced by Powell, this wasn't about waning abilities. It stemmed from authority, dominance, and setting a precedent for those who defy informal protocols. The core issue revolves around three prominent figures often revered in conversations about Black achievement: Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and Spike Lee. You might get typecast or elevated to a point where your value inflates dramatically, making it impossible to accept lesser opportunities without backlash from representatives. You're now valued at $20 million per project, so a television offer of $10 million is dismissed. It's a deceptive peak, not universal, but research shows many post-Oscar winners fade away. This situation discomforts many because if the allegations hold, the very trailblazers credited with dismantling obstacles and creating paths may have been the ones barring entry for Monique when she wouldn't conform. That inverts the entire storyline. This narrative transcends Monique losing out on roles. It's profoundly systemic. It highlights a framework where Black women who reject the entertainment playbook, who maintain their assertiveness, are marginalized, while those in control safeguard their dominance. Monique demanded equity and respect outright. Rather than being lauded for her boldness, she was branded as unappreciative, as if she overstepped. What hurts deeply is that this wasn't orchestrated by external forces. It originated from within her own circle. She wasn't overlooked passively. She was methodically muted, and that suppression was deliberate. Years on, fissures are appearing, and realities are seeping through those immaculate facades. Oprah, Tyler, and Spike aren't peripheral players. They're international influencers whose choices mold careers. If they indeed contributed to Monique's exclusion, this becomes more than a dispute. It's a societal confrontation. Monique and Clifton Powell allege these titans had no qualms leveraging their clout to preserve their pristine reputations, even at Monique's expense. In a fresh discussion, Powell revealed facets of his existence previously untold, further demystifying the covert guidelines actors like Monique navigate in the industry. He began with anecdotes about his loved ones. When questioned about the notion that an Oscar victory can be career-ending, he affirmed it. You reach a summit with no further ascent possible, leading inevitably downward. Kevin Bacon noted the ideal spot as mid-tier. Post-Oscar, without immediate successes generating massive revenue, criticism mounts. Didn't they win an Oscar? What went wrong? Agents avoid downgrades like TV, trapping you in a cycle. Powell surprised many by mentioning his son dated an Obama daughter, prompting Secret Service scrutiny of their family. He chuckled about it, but the implication was serious. Entering elite spheres means constant surveillance and judgment. He instilled in his son the importance of composure, warning that any misstep could invite irreversible consequences. This wasn't mere parenting, it was preparation for survival, paralleling Hollywood's demands where deviation invites swift repercussions. The industry mandates conformity, humility, and avoidance of conflict, or face expulsion. Powell was forthright when addressing the harsher realities. On his prior statement about Oscars being detrimental, he elaborated, achieving that height inflates expectations and compensation, turning the accolade into an adversary if not sustained by hits. Charles Dutton agreed, stating Clifton Powell was accurate. All I'll add is review my statements. I uphold them. I never made threats, but I disapprove of his past dealings with peers, not me personally, as I've never collaborated with him. Research thoroughly before judging, especially within our community. We must treat each other better. Applying this to Monique, her precious Oscar should have propelled her, but instead, barriers erected. Powell's depiction aligns seamlessly, acclaim, then isolation. Powell's critique of Spike Lee deepened the tale. He highlighted mistreatment in Spike's operations, challenging the image of him as a black film advocate. Juxtaposed with Monique's experiences, patterns emerge. If I had Spike's contact, I'd have reached out. I was jesting in a studio, but it escalated online. I disagree with his policies, and I should have addressed him privately. Lesson learned. As creators, caution is key in interactions. Support publicly, resolve privately. I dine with Spike to share my views as fellow Pitians, hoping for improvement. We need superior intra-community dealings. Powell's anecdotes, from security checks to Oscar pitfalls, aren't frivolous. They're insights from an insider. They illustrate that ascent heightens risks, and apparent allies may undermine you. Powell emphasized this isn't random, it's structural. Not all succumb, but patterns persist. Post-peak disappearances aren't flukes. Probing his Spike Lee history and views on recent works, Powell reiterated, no hatred for the man, but disdain for practices. Many defend without facts, ignoring testimonies from those affected. He invoked Charles Dutton's validation, urging independent inquiry. Black individuals must investigate before criticizing, revealing mistreatments by our own. Monique idolized Oprah from youth, seeing her as emblematic of potential. The rupture was thus profoundly personal. Oprah allegedly featured Monique's painful family ties publicly without full consent, a profound violation. Post-Oscar, Monique anticipated support, but claims punishment for prioritizing family over industry norms. This echoes Powell's warnings. Top figures can be as cutthroat when uncooperative, fallout is severe. Monique accuses Oprah, Tyler, and Spike of door closing. Powell's input bolsters this, suggesting the compassionate icon betrayed for business. Monique's call out to Oprah was for responsibility, not pettiness. Veterans from coasts know Spike's shortcomings, delays, underpayment. Powell hopes growth occurred, but disliked public disparagement of peers. Have you met Spike since? Yes, but avoided per advice, given my prior remarks. The core query, is Oprah the epitome of empowerment or a protector of empire? For Monique, it's evident. Powell's additions prompt scrutiny. This transcends politics. It's intimate. Monique trusted Oprah deeply, sharing traumas, expecting empathy.